Animal Omega, the complete essential fatty acid supplement pack for athletes. Animal Omega is packed with 10 different sources of omegas, with a variety of pre-dosed EPA, DHA, GLA, and CLA profiles. Animal Omega, the essential EFA stack.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining me. Just want to give an update on my situation. I am 2 months, a little over 2 months post-surgery. And for those who don't know, I was preparing for a meet in early November, doing a squat with 881 pounds. As I dropped into the descent, I tore 2 tendons off of my hip. So one that holds the adductor muscle up, and one that holds the abdominal muscle down. So they both fully ruptured, so that required surgery. So I had surgery to reattach both the tendons a little over 2 months ago. Recovery's been good on the whole. It was a pretty serious surgery. I couldn't walk for like a week afterwards. I was on crutches, a lot of swelling, a lot of bruising, decent amount of pain. It is what it is, and all those things kind of faded with time. The only, the longest complication was the incision itself. So there's about a 5-inch incision where they cut me open. There was internal stitches that they put in. They were supposed to be absorbable. I guess my body had a bad reaction to them and rejected them in some areas. So the incision would kind of swell up in some parts and then start oozing blood. And that lasted for, over a month post-surgery. So it was kind of weird to be constantly bleeding. And I ruined a pair of shorts that way when it started, but that's the way it goes. In a follow-up appointment with the surgeon, he addressed it, went in and removed some of the stitching that wasn't absorbing. And now I'm the incision is healed up. So thank goodness for that. Part of the recovery process, the rehabilitation process, is physical therapy. That has been really valuable. I think I've done physical therapy before for prior injuries, prior surgeries. I think I was going into it maybe a little skeptical, but it definitely, I'd say my feeling about it improved dramatically. The physical therapists I worked with were great. They really, clearly didn't want to just put me through the motions. They wanted to, address all the specific aspects of my injury, get me back in as close to 100% as possible. It started out, I got into physical therapy very shortly after the surgery. I was actually surprised how soon the surgeon put me in. It started out very, there wasn't much I could do, and I couldn't really even walk in the first session. I remember in the second session is when we actually worked on walking again, because my left leg, where the injury wasn't really tracking like it was supposed to. But then from there, things kind of progressed into a lot of unilateral work, range of motion work, and the sessions ended up becoming decent workouts actually. So lunges up and down the room, lateral lunges where you kind of stretch and then utilize the adductor, slant board, step ups, and just a whole multitude of other things. A lot of exercises where the physical therapist kind of used his own resistance and I'd push against it in various directions with my leg. With enough reps and short enough rest periods over enough sets, I ended up actually breaking a sweat and getting a decent pump in my legs from all that. So it was really, it was a good experience. Let's see. So then regular lifting, got back into upper body lifting fairly shortly. Well, it was a couple weeks before I was really mobile enough, but then I started doing upper body lifting and mostly at a commercial gym just so I could use machines because I really didn't know how things were going to work out because, one of the torn muscles was my abdominal muscle and, we use that in so many different things, bracing and just moving. That I didn't know. Even would a seated chest press aggravate that? I had no idea would a curl aggravate that. So I stuck with machines just because I knew I could bail easily and very incrementally increase the weight. And it worked out well. So then a few weeks into that, I, started getting back into the lower body lifting, outside of physical therapy. I started very light, doing like safety bar squats and some light deadlifts, just a bar and then a small plate on each side. And just letting pain and discomfort be my guide. And thankfully, so far, there hasn't really been any pain or discomfort, so I've been able to increase the weight slowly each time. And I'll be putting some videos on Instagram, and you'll see kind of the movements I'm doing and the weight I'm using. Really sticking with kind of what I call kind of bang for the buck exercises, exercises that I think have the most carryover to a lot of different muscle groups and a lot of different things. So, I like to do safety bar squats to a low box. Because I know that if I'm doing that, that's going to have carryover to the entire posterior chain, quads, so many different things. I've been doing some sumo deadlifts actually, which normally I'm a conventional puller, but I think with sumo deadlifts, since I'm so far away from any competition, it's a good time to hone technique, and that's a lift where I'd like to improve my technique and kind of train my body in a different way. And it's also a great compound movement that addresses all kinds of different muscles. The two biggest parts of recovery are rest and nutrition. So I want to touch on those things. With rest, sleep is the king. There's all kinds of recovery modalities that have some use, but really, if you got to establish the foundation of the pyramid, and sleep is right there. So, sleep hygiene is important. You want your bedroom to be cool, not freezing, but cooler. Whether that takes fans or whatnot. There's cooling blankets nowadays, cooling mattresses. You just want cooler temperature. You want it as dark as possible. So, I've used blackout curtains. You just want to block out as much light as possible. Per that, you also want to limit your exposure to light in the hours or two preceding going to bed. So TVs, computers, smartphones, screen time, it's easier said than done, but you want to kind of avoid that. And then stimulants, caffeine being the main one. Ideally, don't consume that within 6 hours of going to bed. The half-life of caffeine is about 6 hours, so you want most of it out of your system at least. So those are all recommendations for sleep. And then nutrition, I reduced my carbs just because I wasn't training, but I increased my protein because I knew I needed the protein to repair a bunch of tissues. And then supplementation, my big three are right here: Animal Pack, Animal Flex, Animal Omega. These are all the essential fatty acids, and they can be anti-inflammatory, which when you're injured, a lot of inflammation, so that's super important. And the Flex has a lot of nutrients to repair joints and connective tissue. And Pack is really the most important one because that has just a boatload of vitamins, minerals, and a ton of other things that are just like an insurance policy for overall health. So those are the big three. All right. Hope this gave some useful information. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much.